Okay, just you can get it and get smaller.
Okay.
And Takashi, you can see the screen, Takashi.
Can you drag him into?
Yes.
Not yet.
Yes,
Yeah,
I can.
he can
Yes,
see
you
it.
can. Okay.
Can we drag him into the screen?
You want to see his face?
Yes. So I want to know whether he's sleeping.
Okay, you can go ahead.
All right.
All right. Today is World War II.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. All right. Good afternoon. Today, three of us, Takahashi-san, Uno-san, watashi. It's June 30, and we are wrapping up European history in order to move forward and make a comparison between Japanese Confucian philosophy and Western philosophy. But a very brief recap where we have been looking at history. We looked at the Greek Empire characteristics, that it was actually a number of city-states that started to colonialize other parts in order to get enough food. So they started to move overseas to colonize parts where they could grow food and import that into their city-states, and that's how it got started. It really took off with Alexander the Great, but since the Greece in itself was very much divided, it was very difficult to maintain that empire, and the Greek Empire, as we know it from Alexander the Great, was just as successful as the emperor itself. So he basically conquered Persia. He went up to India, and he had a pretty sound idea how to manage an empire. So he actually gave certain privileges to the people that he conquered. And actually, that led to resistance from his own people, who thought that he was too reverent, that he was too kind to the people that they conquered. And on the other hand, there were people who were conquered who didn't want to be conquered. So there was resistance everywhere, but nobody was greater than Alexander. And therefore, this was a very impressive, but at the same time, a very short-lived empire. Then we went on to look at the Roman Empire, and actually the interesting thing is that actually the Roman Empire is partly a continuation of the Greek Empire. The Greek Empire, as it existed under Alexander the Great, it went into decay, but actually under the Romans it came into full bloom, and it was known as the Eastern Roman Empire, where the Greeks were dominant, and it was actually, economically speaking, the most influential empire, part of the empire. It came to a clash with Caesar, who conquered a lot of the Western Roman Empire and came back to Rome to fight actually the Eastern Empire. So Alexander succeeded and came to rule the entire empire. So the Roman Empire, a continuation. It basically took the entire Mediterranean area from Africa into Europe, and it was a very long-lived empire. The eastern side was the 1,000-year empire. That theme we heard again when Germany was basically talking about the Third Reich, and Reich means empire. So the first empire was under Alexander the Great. The second empire was the Roman Empire. The Roman Empire, 1,000-year empire that lasted 1,000 years. Now the Third Reich, the Third Empire, was to last 1,000 years. It lasted 5 years, but so they nearly made it, but not exactly. So the Roman Empire was a very impressive empire. We see that in this period there are a lot of people moving from place to place. If we look at the maps, then we can see that a lot of the peoples that we know today, like the ancestors of the French people, the ancestor of the British people, the ancestors of the German people, did not actually live in Germany or in England or in France. They basically moved in. So everybody was on the move over this long period of time. That is a constant here. People are on the move. They're moving from east to west. And one of the big factors within the Roman Empire, and actually one that created so much, but actually a head start within in Europe, was that the Romans, they more or less united Europe. So if you had a Roman passport, you could move freely throughout the empire. So you could move from Spain to northern Africa to the Middle East. If you had a passport, you could go anywhere. And moreover, they actually included people into their empire. So you could become a Roman citizen, even though maybe you were born in today's Lebanon or in Morocco or in Spain. We could all become Roman citizens and move around freely, and that would have a big impact on trade and on cross-cultural exchange and people moving from east to west and vice versa. So that basically created this more or less melting pot that did not exist before. The Middle Ages was actually a period of decline in learning, a decline in many other things, in health, health and wealth. Cities that like Rome, who had 1 million citizens, they went down to a few thousand actually. Literacy went down. But there was one thing in the Middle Age that really got to rise, and that was the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church became a very important center of power, very often in conflict with kings and royal houses, because the church had so much land. They could collect so much taxes that they were very, very wealthy and influential. They had money, they had power, they had land, and they also actually had the souls of the people. So as long as the church could keep the people frightened of hell and longing for heaven, and they could give them a free pass to this heaven, they could basically control them entirely, from their money to their souls to everything. There were a few kings who were starting to contest this and say, okay, well, we don't want to obey to the Catholic Church, and this led to, for example, the Reformation. This led to the Anglican Church to come into existence, and that was partially because of religious freedom. But it was also partially because it was a very effective way for rulers to annex all the land that once belonged to the Catholic Church and put that under their own reign and start to collect taxes from them. So it would make them a lot richer. Case, for example, is Queen Elizabeth, who is now the richest woman in the world because of Henry VIII. Because Henry VIII actually annexed all the land that once belonged to the Catholic Church in England and made it hers. So that is another thing of history, and we have been looking at the Reformation. It was also a period of Black Death. It was the period when, for example, the Netherlands came into existence, also as a response against the Spanish Church. The Spanish oppression, who made it mandatory for the Netherlands to adhere to Catholicism. Netherlands was not a country yet. They were a number of small pieces of land with local rulers who were not very collaborative and were more or less to themselves. But there was one thing that they had in common, and it was their aversion against Spain. So that basically that became the driver of people starting to work together, and they started a war that lasted 80 years, and eventually beating the Spanish. And they created this single country called Holland, not the Netherlands yet. This was Holland. And Holland soon became a very powerful and most influential country in the world because of the freedom that they created under their constitution, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, freedom of thought. They could not be found anywhere in Europe, but in the Netherlands.
What?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah. So that actually that attracted a lot of wealthy and influential people who were suppressed in their own country, like Huguenots, for example, in France. They were oppressed. They were basically also Protestants, and so they fled France. Wealthy tradesmen from Flanders also fled to the Netherlands. So basically, immigration gave rise to the Netherlands. People who had education, people who were looking for freedom and who had the capacity to actually act upon it. They were, in reality, the founding fathers of the Netherlands. So it's a country of immigration. Immigration made it strong.
Elsa, I don't know. What's the difference by definition between Holland and Netherlands?
Actually, Holland is a part of the Netherlands.
Oh.
Holland is the western part of the Netherlands. So the Netherlands it's if we look at the map here. So this is the Netherlands here, this part, this country, and Holland is only this part.
Oh.
So now everybody say Netherlands?
Yes. It's the Netherlands, but if we play soccer, we speak of Holland, and a lot of other people from foreign countries also speak of Holland. But Holland became the Netherlands about 400 years ago. It was the revolution against Spain was led by Holland, and later on. Other people were united with Holland and together they formed the Netherlands. Even Belgium belonged to that for a short time, but that was not a success because Belgium was Catholic, and they are also they had there were quite large cultural differences, so that they stopped that experiment. It was around 1800, after the Napoleonic Wars. They tried to put Belgium and the Netherlands together so that they would have a more stronger center of power to push France back if necessary. France had then in that era had started a lot of wars, and the rest of Europe was sick and tired of it, and so they wanted to put Belgium and Netherlands to make them stronger. So to give them a threat to France, that if they would again start a war, then they would have to fear an attack from the north. But that was that experiment that failed.
And for Belgium, I understood the language is different, divided
Right.
north and south.
Right.
And what is the motivation of being Belgium as country? So they're mentally united, even though the language is separated.
So actually, it was more or less a referendum under the how do you say that, the stadhouders. The stadhouders is kind of like the how to say that in Japan it's called a coup. No, not a coup, but a no. How do you say it? How do you say that? A prefecture. So basically, it was either do you want to belong to the Netherlands or not, and everything under the Rhine River that was more or less Catholic was more or less saying, well, no, we don't want to adhere to Holland, and we want to be we don't want to belong to the Netherlands. But it was not only the prefecture. In some prefectures they were actually voted, but in other prefectures, I know, for example, in Limburg, which is the most southern tip of the Netherlands, it was not so much the people that wanted to belong to the Netherlands, but it was actually the head of the prefecture who personally wanted to belong to the Netherlands, and up till today they are kind of a like more or less half independent part of the Netherlands. The culture is different, the food is much better there, the life is also different, the language is very close to Belgium. Limburg is a prefecture in the Netherlands.
Like Quebec in Canada.
Right, yeah, very, very good example, good comparison, yeah.
So, Limba is
south part. The question in the south part, maybe whether they want to belong to France,
right,
or,
right. Yeah, so they had their roots in France, right? So they speak French, but Flanders had always been Flanders, and Flanders was independent. But so they put the three together. Then, because of the dominance of the Netherlands, people didn't want to live under the dominance of the Netherlands. Some wanted to because they saw it as an opportunity, and others they didn't want it. So that's how finally we decided on the final form and shape of the Netherlands. But that's actually also. If you think of it, we really believe in the state and the sovereignty of the state and its laws and everything else. But if you look at history, you can see that the state is only and the borders of the state are only recent inventions. Like Belgium, as a state, doesn't really make so much sense. It's like just like Yugoslavia. Like Yugoslavia was a very good experiment in terms of to bring peace and stability to the Balkan, but basically it never belonged together, and the people were very different within a very small region. So that's where the problems start, right? Turkey and the Kurds, and they also put in the same country. It doesn't really work. So we see that
Belgium has been still, stable as being state, independent state. Is it?
Yeah.
Because
So
the political influence from outside was not put on Belgium. This agreement still keep on going between Netherlands and France.
Well, France and the Netherlands were not particularly friendly with each other. So we were a Protestant state, there was a Catholic state, France, but they were not really in a position to negotiate after they just lost the war. Napoleon had been kicked, and so it was more or less recommended and requested from Germany and Austria-Hungary to start this and England, by the way, to actually have Belgium and the Netherlands united, because basically Belgium was more or less an obstacle on the way to France. So that's when basically they shuffled the cards and they came up with this kind of weird compromise, and that became those became the borders of the state as we know them today. But still, Belgium cannot keep a government for longer than a few months, and then it falls because they are still so much divided because of the speed in economic development, the difference between economic development because of language barriers, cultural barriers. It's kind of weird that in 200 years they still haven't managed to resolve this, but it's the reality.
Yeah, by the way, 2,000 years ago, 1,500 years ago, Roman Empire, the age, based on this chart, and Spain and France looks like seem to be combined.
So basically, this was at the time of the Roman era. So they were combined. This was Rome. Everything was Rome. They were not countries.
They are speaking French and Spanish.
They were speaking Latin.
Latin. Oh, for Latin, they separated into the.
So this is where they spoke Latin, and this is where they spoke Greek.
Greek, they're changing word. How they going to Spanish, French are generated?
Well, of course they also spoke that. So it was not like everybody was doing that, but it was just like their lingua franca, their shared language was Latin.
At that time they spoke French and Spanish?
Yeah, well, probably something that resembled it. If you look back in literature in the Netherlands, well, they spoke Dutch, but you have to read very, very carefully to understand what they were actually saying. So that was not the same language as we know it today. It almost looked like a foreign language, but languages are currently under development, and they change constantly with the influx of other people. Just through usage, some words become obsolete, and other words they enter into the vocabulary. They enter because of trade or because of people moving into the Dutch society. So what you see, for example, now in the Netherlands, we get more and more words, for example, who are derived from Turkish or Moroccan, that become part of the vocabulary of the youth, and then once that is adopted, then the next generation it will become a regular word in the Dutch vocabulary, and then the Dutch language changes.
But for me, it's very, very interesting is France, German, and Holland, Netherlands, and those countries almost borderless. Borderless, right?
Right. At this time, they were more or less borderless.
No, now it's borderless.
Now, yeah.
Every back and forth, but still, they language is different. Very strange for me.
Right, but what you say the language is different, but the language was much different 20 years ago than it is today, because at that time, if you went to Germany, there was hardly 20 years. 20 years ago, if you go to France, people only spoke French because this is France. But nowadays, if you go to France, young people, they all speak English, maybe with a terrible French accent, but they speak English. And in Germany, it's the same. They even have adopted it. I think.
Why they came for the past 20 years?
But because I think that young people nowadays realize that they're part of Europe, so that France is not the center of the universe anymore. Europe becomes the point of gravity. So there is more exchange. It's easier to move out of France into other countries. You can work there. There are opportunities there, so people are naturally more inclined to adopting these languages. Plus, the internet has contributed a lot, I think, because the language spoken on the internet is English, right? So young people they're exposed to English almost constantly. That's actually one thing that I think that the internet, as it is consumed, and all the websites and everything there, it's more English oriented than it is in Japan. In Japanese people really consume internet in Japanese.
Mm. Mm. So Europe is the English supposedly next one decade, 2 decades later, English supposedly everybody can understand.
I think that is definitely a trend that if the trend continues, then everybody will speak English.
Mm.
Even though England has gotten out of the EU.
Hmm?
Even though England has gotten out of the euro, but yeah.
Okay.
All right. So after the Middle Ages, we get the Renaissance with a very strong focus on knowledge and coming closer to God, astronomy, physics, medicine. We will talk about that later when we talk about philosophy, because there was a very clear connection between,
so
for example,
Renaissance is 1300 till 1600.
right?
This is not Middle Age.
No, post-Middle Age.
Oh, post Middle Age.
Right.
Post Middle Age. In the transition to the modern era.
Yeah, well, of course, these are arbitrary years, right? So that's for some areas the Renaissance came very quickly, while other areas they still lived like it was the Middle Ages, even up to 1900. But if we look at like the leading figures and their publications and what remains from those people in history, then we can say that it started around 1300, but very highly concentrated in very small eras, like in Italy or in Rome.
So what happened in
Paris,
these 300 years?
So there was a lot of,
just you said Protestant coming on surface from Catholic, and
yes.
What's others?
Others is that there was a big development in searching for the truth, meaning searching for the truth and what is the truth and what is real. And they were studying mathematics and nature, and were trying to come up with why is everything the way it is, and how does our solar system work, and that was not entirely as a reaction against religion. A lot of these scientists were actually keeping a central role of God within their searching for the truth. But some also concluded that maybe God doesn't exist.
God doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Oh, at that time, those people went to China. Okay.
So this was people went to China. People went everywhere. Ne? People started to go out to explore the world, to find the truth, to find new ways to make money left, right, and center. So that is everything went together. So taking a very new approach. So this was really a period that
at that time Islam is still active.
Yes.
Only Europe.
Yes, still. I mean, Islam was active. We had the Moors in Spain. We had the influence in the Balkan.
Which country existed at that time? In Middle East or North Africa? It's 1300, 1600?
Well, we had Egypt, of course.
Egypt? They have power? No. How about Middle East? Is Persian? Or how about Ottoman Empire? Not yet.
Not yet, I think.
Not yet.
I don't. When was the Ottoman Empire?
Mongol?
Mongols, yeah.
Who are they at that time? 1300 to 1600?
The Mongols?
No, Middle East.
So actually, at that time, the Middle East was doing very well. I think it was doing better than, if I'm not mistaken, than actually even until the end of the Roman Empire. So that's more or less collapsed, and the Muslims took over. So we had this period of the East Roman Empire, right? That was a period of affluence when most of the scientific discoveries and etc. they came actually from the Middle East. And when the Roman Empire collapsed, we entered in the period of the Dark Ages. Then we had the Persians. Then Islam came into existence. When was the Islam? That's a.
Just check it.
I'm not very good in
World history. Just check the world history. Here.
This one?
Yeah, anyone, and you can.
So timeline.
Yeah.
World history timeline.
Okay. No, just yeah, this one. This history of Islam. Oh, yeah.
So we have the Mongols here.
Oh, Mongol.
Yeah, Mongols was the beginning of the.
What is the blue line?
Of the period of the Renaissance. I've been here, the Sultanate of Rum.
What the?
Persia, Lebanon.
I know that's it's kind of like a place in the desert, surrounded with a rock formation. Wadi Rum. So we have the Arabia.
With dark gray.
Dark gray. The Levant, so that's Iraq, ne? Dark gray.
What means the red color?
And the Ottomans was actually the end.
What mean the red color, the blue colors? Some meaning special?
Well, let's have a look.
So we can look at the.
This is not good chart.
The
you
country
change it.
on the left side.
You try to change it.
So we have green. Wait. Probably this is. Is it religion, perhaps? Salafites.
Arabia.
Mongols.
At 1,300 under Mamluks. No, Mamluks. Who is Mamluks? Mesopotamia and Persia was under Mongol from
right
1,300 to 1,500.
So Mamluks, I have no idea what Mamluks are, by the way. Various Mongols. So these are the Ottomans. They rule it here. The Mamluks, Levant and Egypt. Probably these are the ancestors of the Arabs, no? So we have the Mongols.
So at that time is Genghis Khan and Viray Khan. They invaded Europe and the Middle East. 13th, 14th, 15th century. Is it? Is this chart shows?
Mongols.
Right?
The
Mongol. Okay. Mongol. Occupied those areas. After Mongol is Ottoman Empire came.
Right.
Came. How about Persian state? Persian,
Persian is
not you.
before the Mongols, no?
No, after Mongol.
Persians,
Yeah, Persian.
Mongols, Ottomans.
Ottoman and Persian is different area.
So,
Persian
Persian is
different
Persians
area.
is here. That's here from 750.
Ottoman Turkish, right? Persian is
So
Iran.
that's what I'm saying. So first around 750. There's the Persian period, lasted even until around 1200.
Ottoman invaded
Then-
Persian. Still,
Yeah. So this actually was taken over by the Mongols. And
you had better change the chart. This is not well. You have
so,
to-
but I think basically what this chart says, from 750 to around 1300, the Persians, then the Mongols for a period of about 200 years, and then the Ottomans.
I think this is not good. This is not good. Something more fancy one. More fancy one.
Yeah, actually, I had a. What's that? What's that?
This one? No, 1300 is pinch. No, I need 1300 to 600.
Housekeeping.
Housekeeping. Mm.
The spread of the Islam. Yeah.
Okay.
Huh. Now we got a big one here.
No, 1200. I'm not interested.
No?
No, I'm not interested in 1200. This is 6th
So-
century till 13th century.
That's the Persian era, I think.
No. After that, I'm concerned.
After that, we get the
Mongol.
Mongols, and after that we get the.
This is until 13th century.
So.
Yeah.
So.
This is.
So what you see
Roman
here
Empire.
is this is their influence, actually.
This
So
is Roman Empire.
here during the Roman Empire, so they have their influence here and here in Europe. This is Caliph.
Islamic Empire. They disappeared at the 1200. Is it?
Who disappeared?
Islamic State.
But they resurface as the Ottoman Empire?
No, not the Ottoman Empire. This is Islamic State. On those days, they had some country there until 1200. After Roman Empire, they have. But anyway, Eastern Roman Empire until the 11th century, right? 11th century, right? This is Roman Empire. This is Eastern Roman Empire, is it?
Right. So this is after the Roman Empire, right? So then the Persians take off. No, the
This
East
is
Roman
Persia.
Persia, yeah.
Oh, Persia. Yes, Iran expanded territory to
Here
but
and
actually
here.
this is Byzantine Empire.
But that actually has its root here in Arabia, right? That's the origin of the Islam.
This is when, so when is this?
This is 600 after Christ, I think. 600, 632, 641. and then to 750. So you see this expanding here from 600 to 750 roughly.
Okay, let's move. We don't know, 13th century to 16th century. What's happening? Not good chart. Mongol there, I understand. But interesting, they don't have a good chart.
Well, must have.
In Europe.
Must have. I can't
Is
believe
it
that.
too detailed?
That's a lot of detail, but wow.
Oh, it's not good.
Shit. Here. So 600 Mongol invasion, right?
Yeah, big one. Get big one.
Right.
Right, not this one. No. Disappear. Oh, that one.
Oh, slow. Oh, here. Well, we're lucky.
Mongol.
So we have here Islam originates in the Arabian Peninsula, 600. Around 600.
Oh, by the way, he
Then-
said 1415 to 1715. Ottoman?
Yes.
When this kind of...
Not the end of 1750s. The Ottoman Empire only ends officially at 1919.
when started?
That is around 1450. Oh, what's this? Oh,
1415.
it started to run by itself. Okay, pause. So I think the story is more or less the same. So it originates around 600 in Saudi Arabia, Mecca. And then it spreads out towards Persia, and it spreads out towards the northern part of Africa into Spain. Then it starts to be dominated from Persia. It becomes the dominant culture from 1750 onwards, and then the Mongols take over power around 1300, and around 1450, so 150 years later, the Mongol influence is gone, and the Ottomans take control over the Middle East. So Arabs, from Arabs to Persians to Mongols to Ottomans.
So actually, Arabs is in Islam vacant from this 13th century to 16th century.
Well, they are also part of the Persian Empire, basically. They're not exactly fake, but yeah. Well, Arab. I mean, it's still religious. It has religious significance because Mecca. It's the because of Mecca, which plays a central role in Islam. But there is not much else there. It's just a big desert, basically, with some local rulers there. But Persia is much more a world leader. What is that link, Takai-san?
This is the map, the Middle East. Of changing who dominate.
Oh, okay. So let's have a look at that. So what we see is the spread of Islam from Arabia to first towards the east, then towards the west, and then up into Europe, into Spain. That lasts until around 750. Then basically the dominance originates from Persia, and Persia rules until around 1250, and the Mongols enter, and until from 1450, so 150 years later, the Ottoman Empire is the dominating part. So who was the dominating power in the Middle East during the Renaissance? That was actually Mongol, and during the Renaissance, actually that trend transited into dominance of the Ottoman Empire.
When Ottoman Empire started?
Ottoman Empire around 1450.
1450?
Mm.
1450.
Mm.
So they continued for 500 years?
500 years.
500 years?
Mm. Let's have a look and confirm this to be true. Takai-san just sent us a link.
This video?
Oh, it's a bit vague, eh? Let's go back.
Yeah, I cannot read the word.
Right, it's a bit vague. So Egypt.
This is before Christ, BC.
Oh, so Israel. Well, I cannot read the timeline, eh?
No.
Babylon. Persians, yeah. Macedonia, yeah, that's Roman Empire. It's supposed to be Persian Empire. Is that resurgent? Crusaders. Mongol.
Recent year.
Yep. Very interesting. Unfortunately, it's not very clear. No?
I can read country name. Okay, let's go. Oh, many. Is just this one? You showed this one?
No, this one. When does it start? Oh, very, very Sumeria, Egypt, Assyria, Babylon. It's amazing that they have this knowledge. Archimedes. What's that? Archimedes was a king, I think, but Greek city-states here, eh?
Yeah.
Around 400 BC. So this equals the Persians, Kana? Here Macedonia, very, very quickly gone. Armenians.
What is Seleucid Empire?
Oh, I have no idea. It's incredible that they made this, can make these maps.
Oh, you're moving year by year.
Yeah. Armenia is already... It's very old. Roman Empire. Yeah. やっぱり違うんだ。So you can really see actually how strong the influence of Iran, current day Iran, has been throughout almost entire history.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
long standing against even Roman Empire.
So,
Oh, Sassanid Empire, Iran.
and the light is still out in Saudi Arabia, eh?
Desert.
Nothing.
Oh, nothing happened.
Nothing.
Yeah, about desert actually.
Mm.
Because they get rich because oil.
Oh,
No background, no culture. East Roman Empire still. 421.
That's all
Sassan-
the way around contain Iran. Iran.
Sassanid Empire is also the
Iran.
current Iran.
Right.
Oh,
Sunnis, ne?
No, Shia.
$600. So another 150 years, and then we will see, bam, the Mongols.
Oh, this year, Muhammad.
Here we go, bang. Yep.
Caliphate.
So
Oh, yeah.
they are the basically they're the Islamic State.
So it's not empire. It's
Then
they
bam.
call it a caliphate.
Right. And Iran is resurfacing.
Wheat.
Oman.
Oh, Oman.
Who are they?
Mongols.
Who? No, not yet. No, not coming.
1300.
I can read this one.
Seljuk. Seljuk. Mongol.
Mongol.
1300, yeah. Battery. Are you connected to a battery?
No. What is this?
Timurit. Timur sounds Russian. Mameluk. Safavid, not Salafid. Safavid.
Ottoman Empire.
Right. So came into existence during the Renaissance.
Turkey and Iran is all the way around and battle each other at that time, right?
Right. It was not really Turkey then, right?
It means they are strong all
Yeah,
the way.
yeah.
Compete against Ottoman Empire.
Yeah. They had the entire, basically, they are the one who are connecting.
Egypt came in here.
Sudan.
1900.
Oh, Persia.
Persia is all the way around, exists here. Iran. That's the reason why America cannot beat them. Right? Iran is strong.
ISIS. もうすごいこれ。これ本当にすごい。
Use that on you.
You wanna see it?
Okay, have a look. Yes,
ユーデミーは世界最大級のオンライン学習プラットフォーム。話題の人工知能の
400 BC. Here, the city-states. Greece, huh?
Only Greece. What is this?
That's Persia. the second.
ペルシャ。
うん。Alexander the Great. Dang. Bang. Gone. Oh, yeah. Coming.
Who are they?
Romans.
Oh, Rome.
Ptolemaios.
So no rulers in Europe.
Sorry?
No ruler in Europe.
No. Really, before the Greeks and the Romans, there was nothing. Just little tribes.
Oh,
So all happening around
The Qatars, eh?
Mediterranean.
who are they?
Mediterranean
Yes,
Sea.
yeah.
Who are they?
But there were people here, of course, but they are tribes and they are called like vandals and hooligans and what have you.
Mhm.
These are from the Carthago. They
Carthago.
actually, yeah, Moors. (140 BC). Gradually.
So the name is changing every year.
Yeah, that's the Scipio. Those are the leaders, the rulers, the emperors.
So was not fixed.
No,
It's changing year by year.
right. So the emperors always change, right?
Oh.
Pompey. Julius
Still
Caesar.
here. What is this?
I don't know.
Difficult to beat them. Why?
Right. So this is current Bulgaria.
Bavaria.
Bulgaria, yeah.
Oh, strong.
Augustus.
Oh.
Roman Empire could not occupy those areas. Bavaria?
Huh.
Bavarians very strong.
Who is Bavaria?
Barbarians. Barbarians actually they are here in the northern part, like Arminius.
Oh.
Well, basically everybody outside the Roman Empire was a barbarian, eh?
But this country all the way
Right.
around survived. Oh, occupied.
Gone. So this is Julius Caesar extending his influence to England.
Scotland could not be occupied. This
No,
Scotland.
Hadrian's Wall. This is Hadrian's Wall. There's a little wall here. Yeah. Yeah.
What is this? This Scotland?
Scotland. Yeah. Hadrian. So he came back from here, having fought the war here in England. Hadrianus. So now we will see like it's decreasing here. Here starts the Roman Empire starts to crumble. Marcus Aurelius, very famous emperor. Now we're getting into the period of like more or less crazy Roman emperors who are being elected because they look good, they have good physical strength, or there's a lot of more crazy ones, and that's the beginning of the end. Constantine. So he's going to divide East and West.
When already divided?
Constantinople.
Oh, they divided at that time?
I think
Not yet.
that's
Not
the
yet.
beginning of the so.
When divided?
I think around. No, should have been divided already because no, that's not correct. It was already divided around 0 because Julius Caesar he actually fought the East Roman Empire. He conquered Rome. Attila.
Oh, disappeared.
Yes, Western Roman Empire is gone.
No, gone. This looks like Islamic country. No? Islamic.
Could very well be.
This is Eastern Roman
So,
Empire?
yes, purple one, eh?
Eastern Roman Empire.
Right.
Who are they? Big one.
Heraclius. And so this becomes totally divided. No? This was one, but
Yeah, it's suddenly coming up here. This Eastern Empire is so kind of, shrink. Why it is nobody occupied?
right. No clear ruler.
Europe is an unknown name of the country. I don't know that. I can't recognize it.
It's not. This is the name of the ruler at the area. It's France. Eh?
So Yugoslavia that didn't have the rulers for a long time.
Right.
So it's run by pilots from Yugoslavia. Right?
Yes.
Yeah, Yugoslavia is white.
So Karel de Grote.
Oh, Charlemagne,
So
France.
so.
Oh, huge. Big country, is it?
So this. This is the Louis le Pieux, means literally Louis the who is obedient to God. Oleg.
Oleg is Russian. So Eastern Roman Empire is still attacking.
But it's already like Turkey.
No. Turkey only comes into existence in 1919.
But the Eastern Roman Empire is located in current Turkey.
Yeah. So the capital was Constantinople, the Eastern Roman Empire, which is today's Turkey.
So Turkey had history of Roman Empire.
Yes. And then it became the.
Might be all those family.
Oh.
Right. Family.
Right.
Henry.
William.
Oops. It's Ottoman. No.
Suleiman.
Disappeared.
Oh.
I think this is.
Shah looks like a Shah. Means Persia?
Shah is king in Persia. Meaning is. Shah comes from schaak, is chess. King.
It's interesting. I never seen this before. Really?
It's amazing how much work is put into.
It's amazing. I didn't know that.
Barbarossa.
What the Barbarossa?
Is Germany. Otto.
So that's.
The black one is Germany.
Germany, yes. The Central European, like Central European Empire.
Middle Age, right?
Right.
Now I wanted to know 1300.
Wow.
1300. What happened?
1300.
Han. Kubilai Han.
Genghis Khan. Timur.
This time Middle East just white. Nobody strong power.
Yeah, well, basically they're all small tribes that are all part of the Ottoman Empire.
Mongol never coming down here.
This is Turkish name, Murat.
Turkish name.
Mehmet. Also
So
Murat,
very
yeah.
soon Ottoman Empire will.
But this is already Ottoman Empire.
Already Ottoman Empire? So is this Russia? No?
Yes.
Oh, this is Russia, basically. This is Ottoman Empire, right?
So who's in Eastern Europe is the purple, the pink one. It's Russian.
Purple?
This one?
Yeah.
Which one purple?
Ivan the
it's pink.
Terrible.
No, yeah. So this is
Which one?
maybe Russian.
Yeah, Boris, Russian.
Right, no, this one.
Huh? This is Poland.
Poland.
Current Poland. So Netherlands is not here. It's not.
Oh,
Now it becomes net, including part of Belgium. Again, they try to put it together, but that doesn't live long. King Leopold. Wilhelm, Kaiser Wilhelm. That's Austria-Hungary. Lenin, Stalin, Hitler. Boom.
Oh, Hitler.
That was quick. Half an hour.
World current map.
Ceausescu. Gorbachev. Bang. Erdogan.
Oh, it's interesting.
Oh my god, I get a headache from watching this.
Okay, this goes.
Oof.
Interesting. Oh, I'm tired.
Okay.
Very interesting. I've never seen this.
So, Takahashi-san, if you hear claims like, "Oh, this is our land because it used to belong to us in this and that period," like for example, you can now put some kind of question mark, and it has been everybody's land at some point in time. So it just depends how far you care to look back, and then there's always some kind of reason why to claim certain islands or whatever have been originally yours, but. Yeah, it's very arbitrary. Putting it
so even it's long before, but it's more or less to certain extent. So the Europe is fitting that we're coming through this history.
Right. So, yeah, history is kind of strange. Everybody had his periods where they were leading and were dominating, but at the same time, it's very relative. Making historical claims doesn't really make much sense. Like, oh, this historically belongs to us, to God. That's, well, nonsense as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, that's how different is from Japanese history.
Right, but even when we talk about Japanese history, I mean, to put a claim on the Kuril Islands, for example, and Senkaku Islands and these things, yeah, just depends on when you want to look. China makes a claim on the South China Sea. Well, yeah, okay, possible, but that was another period, another era, and then they may have been in control, and then following the next era, there were other countries who were in control. They might not even have been countries. So it doesn't. So these kinds of historical claims are, well, if you look at the map like this, there are nonsense.
The Asia is not so united as European is.
No,
but you have still it seems the Germany, France, and the Spain has been sitting more like stable for a long time. But still, do they have some conflict on the border? Mixing with some political issues.
Oh yeah, I mean, so we are now going to look at World War II, and definitely we will see that one of the reasons why Hitler managed to attract so much support. One of the reasons was that he made a case of Alsace-Lorraine. Alsace-Lorraine was a part of Germany that had been surrendered to France after Germany lost World War I, and this was very much to the dismay of a lot of German people. So they wanted it back because they make very nice wine there. So it's they wanted it back.
Okay, break. It's cut video.